So this is Lecture 40, and I'm happy to be back. Just released an MBR working paper with this title with my co-authors. I'm eager to talk to you about it. Incentivizing China's Urban Mayors to Mitigate Pollution Externalities, the Role of the Central Government and Public Environmentalism. And we're going to be talking about a sandwich in just a little while. So we all know that China has really bad environmental problems. The New York Times loves to write about this. And I want to make an analogy back to the Soviet Union. So in the bad old days, China aspired to be, back under Mao in the 1950s, 60s, China aspired to be like the Soviet Union with an ugly model of industrial dirty factories producing their brains out, polluting their brains out, and in this pursuit of GNP maximization, just horrible pollution as the pollution just scaled up with industrial production. We all know, and China today reflects this, that blue skies and green cities was not a priority. The people were poor, the people were scared. Government at the time had a monopoly on information, similar to the Soviet Union with that newspaper Pravda. And here is a classic picture of Pravda. You see Lenin in the upper left-hand corner from the good old days. This paper is an optimistic empirical paper focused on a sandwich, and that sandwich to the left is partially a joke but also a deep idea. The mayors of China's cities are the meat of the sandwich. In the past, they had discretion over whether they regulated factories or just let these factories located in their borders do what they wanted to do, perhaps receiving payments from these factories. But right now there's two levels of pressure that we argue in this paper that the mayors face. For reasons I'm about to tell you, the central government is increasingly prioritizing environmental performance in ranking which of these mayors merits being promoted to a better position in the central government. And of course, China does not have elections. The central government is choosing whom to appoint and who to promote. And so the good news here is the central government is increasingly prioritizing green criteria, low pollution, and other criteria. In addition, the public is increasingly being active in nudging local mayors to pursue the green agenda. The public now has access to the equivalent of Twitter, using microblogs and the internet, and is much better informed about their pollution and environmental exposure than past generations of Chinese urbanites. And so this is not a passive public who is cowed by the powerful government. This is a public demanding quality of life and holding officials accountable if they believe that these officials are not providing quality of life. So again, at the heart of the sandwich is the mayors facing pressure from the central government and the public to deliver green skies, blue skies, green cities. We all know the baseline facts about the rising energy consumption in China. And we all know that upper right-hand picture and that lower right-hand picture, sort of air and water pollution issues in China, that change has to be brought about to improve the quality of life of Chinese urbanites. The paper tests four hypotheses. Hypothesis number one, H1, local officials now, relative to the past, are more likely to be promoted if their city experiences environmental progress. We document in the paper that all else equal, mayors are more likely to be promoted if their city's GNP is growing faster. But controlling for that factor in a multivariate regression, we document that mayors are more likely to be promoted if their industries are getting cleaner and if ambient pollution is declining over time in their city. We also document in hypothesis number two that across geographic areas, the population's interest based on Google searches for certain keywords in environmental issues varies across space and is positively correlated with local pollution issues. So the higher is local pollution, the more interest the public is showing in searching for these words. The public is concerned. Hypothesis 3, the attributes of local leaders matter for the effectiveness of environmental policies. Using a unique mayoral data set describing the characteristics of mayors, such as their age and educational attainment, we document that cities with higher educated leaders experience greater energy and environmental progress. And 4, our final hypothesis, cities facing more pressure from the public and the central government engage in greater energy conservation and environmental protection. And we document that those cities with more educated people and in those cities where based on Google indices, that there's more public concern about the environment, those cities reach the environmental Kuznets curve turning point at a lower level of income. Intuitively, that means that cities at more middle-class cities reach this sweet spot where further economic growth is positively correlated with environmental progress. So what can a mayor do? The local mayors have a lot of power in China in influencing economic activity. City leaders can use cheap land and favorable tax policies to attract firms, and if these are dirty firms, this may generate high gross domestic product and tax revenue but lead to pollution. City leaders can also shut down dirty factories, as shown in the 2008 Olympics. City leaders have powerful control over the large state-owned enterprises. City leaders can sign contracts with managers to require them to perform better on environmental criteria. I argued at the top that the central government is increasingly demanding, the Beijing central government is increasingly demanding that mayors step up and address these environmental issues. Why? First, there's several possible explanations, and we're unable to disentangle these, and I think that future research should study this. First, domestic energy security concerns have gone up, and China's central government wants to be more energy efficient, and they have nudged their mayors to be more energy efficient, and this has environmental benefits since energy consumption increases pollution. Second, the central government is always seeking new export markets, and the belief that the rest of the world demands low-carbon products, electric vehicles, solar panels, wind turbines, provides an incentive for China's central government to nudge the mayors to pursue this low-carbon agenda. Third, the central government's well aware of how polluted China is, and it's likely they care about their own people. And they're breathing the same air, and they recognize that pollution degrades China's quality of life. Fourth is a more instrumental explanation. The central government recognizes that around the world there have been political challenges, whether it's in Egypt or in other countries where the government has been overthrown. Every government seeks legitimacy, and you're more likely to have the peace and less social unrest if the people believe that their quality of life is improving. And environmental progress is one way to deliver that. And so in our paper, we talk about some of the recent data controversies and the Ministry of Environmental Protection switching over to the measuring PM 2.5 rather than PM 10. We talk about in the paper, this almost looks like Berkeley, a people protest, when dirty factories have wanted to open in cities and the people banding together, solving the free rider problem, solving the Menker-Olson transaction cost issue, and working together to block factories from that they perceive as damaging quality of life from entering their area. And these protests have succeeded. The tanks did not roll out. This is people power. And so Richard Easterlin of USC has this quote, where in his work on life satisfaction, he's documented that despite the 8% growth in China's GDP, the people are exhibiting low levels of life satisfaction. In our MBR paper, we argue that this finding of Easterlin's is likely to vanish as quality of life improves because of the success of the sandwich in solving the pollution principal agent problem in China's cities today.